She helped eliminate the Indiana Fever in the 2025 playoffs. She once had a near-physical altercation with Caitlin Clark, so intense that teammates from both sides had to step between them on the court. And right now, according to a new report from Sports Illustrated, the Indiana Fever may be preparing to bring her to Indianapolis. The player is Dana Evans. And if that storyline doesn't have your attention, the numbers behind it absolutely should. Welcome back. If you have been following this channel, you already know that the Indiana Fever are entering 2026 with a foundation that most franchises would spend a decade trying to build. Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah, Boston. That trio, when healthy and properly supported, is a genuine championship threat. But here's the part of the equation that never gets enough public attention: the margins, the depth, the backup minutes, the players who come off the bench and refuse to let the starters' hard work unravel. And right now, one of the most calculated potential moves Indiana could make involves a player who spent the last 2 years making Clark's life very difficult on the court and who might be exactly what this roster needs heading into the most important season in franchise history. If this is the kind of analysis you come to this channel for, hit that like button right now. We are going deep on the Fever's free agency picture today, and the Dana Evans angle is significantly more layered than the surface-level conversation suggests. But before we get into the tactical chess being played inside the Fever front office, we need to establish something that frames every single roster decision this organization is making right now. And it starts with what Caitlin Clark just did to a Chicago Cubs social media post. This week, the Cubs put out a fan engagement tweet, inviting followers to submit their best chocolate chip cookie recipes tied to their Cubs fandom, with the winning submission presumably getting featured at Wrigley Field. Standard content, low-stakes routine, except Clark saw it, replied publicly, and volunteered herself as the official taste tester, and the internet proceeded to go absolutely sideways. That moment, a tweet about cookies, became a national story across sports media, entertainment media, and lifestyle publications simultaneously. Clark is not just a basketball player operating inside the WNBA bubble anymore. She is a full cultural crossover with organic reach that most professional athletes spend entire careers chasing and never locate. The Cubs got the biggest social media moment of their week from a single reply, and Clark generated it effortlessly on what was probably a random Tuesday morning. For the Indiana Fever front office, this is not a cute footnote, this is the mandate. When your franchise player is the gravitational center of American sports culture, extending her presence from basketball arenas to baseball stadiums, from ESPN to mainstream pop culture conversations, every roster construction decision carries stakes that go far beyond wins and losses. You do not waste that window. You protect the asset. You build around the moment with the same urgency. The moment demands, which is precisely why the Dana Evans pursuit makes so much strategic sense when you examine it closely. The Sports Illustrated report, authored by Grant Young, lays out clearly where the Fever currently stand, as free agency moves into its later stages. The most critical piece, retaining Kelsey Mitchell, appears to be resolved. Mitchell's return keeps one of the better secondary ball handlers in the league inside the Indiana system, which is essential because you cannot run a Clark-dependent offense without a capable co-creator. That was the priority, and the front office handled it, but the roster still carries meaningful gaps. Indiana needs a starting power forward, a veteran presence with the physical durability and defensive capability to anchor that position for a team with serious championship ambitions. Mikayla Timson showed genuine flashes during her 2025 rookie campaign, enough for the organization to feel confident about her long-term ceiling. But she is not ready to carry a starting role. On a contender, the Fever want an experienced player beside her, someone who has been in contested playoff environments, who knows how to manage foul trouble in elimination games, who can rebound against WNBA caliber post players without collapsing. That search is active. Simultaneously, the front office is trying to solve the backup point guard question. When Clark sits, and every starter in this league needs meaningful rest across a long regular season, someone has to step onto the court and prevent the Indiana offense from stalling completely. 8 to 10 minutes at that position is not glamorous work, but it is absolutely where playoff runs are won and lost. The wrong player in that role can erase entire quarters of what the starters built, and the right player can keep the lead intact long enough for Clark to come back and close. The name being surfaced as the solution to that problem is Dana Evans. Evans is 27 years old, entering the productive prime of her professional career. She spent the early stages of her WNBA journey with the Chicago Sky, where she built her reputation as a relentlessly physical defender, quick enough to stay in front of smaller guards, smart enough to anticipate passing lanes, aggressive enough to generate turnovers in half-court sets. She was never a star in Chicago, but she was a reliable, competitive depth piece who made every game harder for opponents. Coaches trust players like that. Then the 2025 season arrived, and everything accelerated. Evans was traded to the Las Vegas Aces before the season began, and the move placed her inside one of the most demanding championship environments in the league's recent history. Playing alongside Aja Wilson, Jackie Young, and Chelsea Gray gave Evans something Chicago never could: a legitimate shot at winning in a system that rewarded exactly the skills she had been developing for years. She seized the moment over the course of the season. She solidified her role as a trusted weapon off the Aces bench. And then Game 1 of the WNBA Finals arrived, and Dana Evans introduced herself to an entirely new audience: 21 points, 4 steals, 26 minutes off the bench. In the opening game of the Finals, Evans did not just contribute, she carried. She was the reason the Aces established control early in what could have been a tight, uncertain opener. That performance, produced under the maximum possible competitive pressure, changed her market value and put her directly on the radar of every front office looking for battle-tested backup production at a manageable contract price. Her season averages 6.6 points per game do not capture her full value, and that distinction matters enormously when evaluating her fit with Indiana. Evans was operating within an Aces offensive system, specifically designed to funnel primary possessions toward Wilson and Young. Her volume was suppressed by design, not by limitation. In Indianapolis, the role would be structurally identical: come off the bench, protect the lead, defend at a high level, and keep the offense functional during Clark's rest minutes. That is a role Evans has already demonstrated she can handle at the championship level. The real question now is whether the Indiana Fever front office moves decisively enough to get it done. And that urgency is not theoretical, because Evans is not the kind of player who lingers on the free agency market. Once word spreads about what she can provide, she had a career-defining playoff performance. She plays with genuine competitive fire, and she is coming at a price point that makes sense for budget-conscious teams looking to maximize value on the margins. That combination does not stay available indefinitely, so drop your answer in the comments right now. Would you want to see Dana Evans in an Indiana Fever uniform in 2026? Because this is a move that will generate strong opinions across the fan base, and we want to hear exactly where you land. Here is a reality that Fever fans need to sit with honestly. Evans was on the team that knocked Indiana out of the 2025 playoffs. She was part of the Aces machine that ended the Fever season in the semifinals. For a fan base that has been tracking this championship window with genuine emotional investment and real urgency, that history carries weight. There will be a segment of the Indiana community that has zero interest in watching a former playoff executioner collect a paycheck from the same organization she helped defeat. But championship rosters are not constructed around fan comfort. They are built on competitive intelligence. The history of professional sports is filled with former rivals, players who made life miserable for the opposition, who became essential pieces of title runs after changing teams. The question is never about the past. The question is always, what does this player bring to the specific challenge in front of you right now? And the answer for Dana Evans is substantial on multiple levels. Beyond the playoff experience and the statistical profile, Evans brings something that is genuinely rare at the backup guard position in this league: a proven, documented willingness to compete directly against Clark without deference. On June 16, 2024, during a regular season contest when Evans was still with the Chicago Sky, there was a physical exchange on a Clark drive that became one of the more discussed moments in WNBA circles that entire season. Evans wrapped up Clark's arm on the drive. The two came face to face. Players from both benches moved toward the situation. It did not escalate further, but the moment revealed something important about Evans's competitive DNA. She does not defer to reputation. She competes regardless of who is on the other side of the ball screen. For the Fever's coaching staff, that quality is not a cautionary flag. It is a selling point. Caitlin Clark is best served by a practice environment that genuinely challenges her, by teammates who bring real competitive intensity every single day in the gym, not just on game nights. A backup guard who is passive, who defers, who goes soft in competitive moments, that does not serve Clark's development, and it does not serve the team's championship ambitions. A backup guard who went directly at Clark in a regular season game and refused to blink. That is the DNA championship coaching staffs specifically seek out when building a practice environment around a generational player. Now let's address the financial dimension, because this is ultimately where the signing either gets done or it falls apart. The Fever are operating with limited cap flexibility heading into 2026. The Clark-Mitchell-Boston trio consumes the majority of available payroll, which means every supporting cast decision has to be evaluated through the lens of production per dollar. Evans has never commanded max money. Her market this offseason is not expected to push her into a range that strains Indiana's remaining budget, which makes her one of the most efficient potential acquisitions available at a position of genuine need. That efficiency matters in a specific way, because Indiana's free agency to-do list extends beyond the backup guard slot. The starting power forward search is still active and still critical. Additional frontcourt depth is on the priority board. The front office cannot overspend at one position and create structural problems at another. Evans at the right number solves the backup guard question while preserving the flexibility needed to address everything else on the list. That is roster construction done correctly, surgical, targeted, and designed to maximize the core trio without compromising the depth that playoff basketball demands. Before we go further, if this level of analytical breakdown is what keeps bringing you back to this channel, consider hitting that join button below and becoming a member. Your support is what makes it possible to keep digging into the stories and the roster decisions that other channels are glossing over. Stepping back from Evans specifically and looking at the broader architecture of what the Fever are trying to build, the 2026 championship window is as real as any this franchise has ever seen, and everyone inside the organization understands it. Clark, Mitchell, and Boston form a top-3 core that is genuinely elite in its construction. Each player contributes something distinct and essential. Clark is the offensive engine, the player whose gravity reshapes defensive schemes before she even touches the ball, whose presence in transition creates advantages that ripple through every possession. Mitchell is the secondary creator capable of generating independently when defenses overload Clark. Boston is the interior connective tissue, skilled, efficient, difficult to move in the post, and the player who makes the offense flow through angles that other front-court options cannot replicate. The players surrounding that core need to complement it without duplicating it. You do not need another primary creator in the lineup. You need role specialists, players who execute within a defined system, defend at a high level, and handle the physical and mental accumulation of a deep playoff run. Evans, if the reports are accurate and the deal gets done, checks each of those boxes, specifically at the position where the Fever have the most pressing need. If you have been watching this channel and you want the people in your circle locked in on everything happening with this Fever roster before the free agency window closes, share this video right now. The decisions being made in these next few weeks will determine what the 2026 season looks like from opening night. Here is the angle that puts the entire Dana Evans conversation into its sharpest focus. This is not just a tactical roster acquisition. If Evans signs with Indiana, it becomes a narrative, and in the modern WNBA, narrative matters. The player who eliminated the Fever comes to Indianapolis and becomes the person protecting Caitlin Clark's minutes. The competitor who went face-to-face with Clark on the floor and refused to back down becomes the defender running Clark's offense when Clark sits. That storyline, former foe, now fully committed ally, does not just play well with media, it reinforces the culture of toughness and championship seriousness that the front office has been building deliberately since Clark arrived. There is also the locker room dimension that deserves attention. Evans brings finals experience that cannot be manufactured and cannot be purchased at a premium. She has been in a WNBA Finals. She has performed under the maximum possible competitive pressure and delivered when it counted. For the younger players developing within the Fever system, players who have never been in a playoff environment at that level, sharing a locker room with someone who has lived that experience and succeeded in it changes the culture of a practice environment in ways that do not show up in any box score. The Indiana Fever are not finished building. The roster is not complete. The free agency period is still open. The front office is still working, and the decisions being finalized right now, quietly, without the volume of a trade deadline or the drama of a playoff elimination, are the decisions that determine whether 2026 is the year this franchise finally breaks through. Dana Evans may be one piece of that puzzle. The starting power forward solution is another. The new arena developments that will eventually reshape this franchise's long-term footprint represent another layer entirely. The story is not slowing down. If you are not subscribed yet, hit that button now and turn on notifications. We are tracking every move the Fever make as free agency enters its final stretch. And coming up next, we are breaking down another situation developing across the league that has direct implications for how Indiana's 2026 roster takes shape. That one is worth staying for.